Hello everybody, Davide aka Panzer speaking here. So I'm very happy that my video about the where I showed my do-it-yourself rig got for my channel many views. I mean it's more than 1,000 views. Very very small numbers for YouTube, really baby numbers, but for this small channel is actually quite a bit. And I'm happy that I got your interest, and I'm also happy that I received some request of show the building process. That is something that I didn't show in my previous video. So I got you covered. I actually I cannot dismantle and rebuild the rig, it would take too much time, and I cannot build another one. But luckily I have some videos and some pictures about the process, and we will go through them, and I will explain what I did, in which order, and some tips to create your own do-it-yourself profile aluminum rig. I will also put in the info box here all the information about the parts that I ordered that were also present in the previous video. And yeah, that's basically it. So, where to start? First thing first, you want to create your own do-it-yourself aluminum profile rig. Fair. So you made your personal design, you made the list of all the parts you need, and you order them. You will receive profiles and hardware, perhaps from the same shop, perhaps from different shops. For the hardware part, it's quite simple because usually you receive a box full of screws, T-nuts, and other things, and these are all well packaged and clean. But the profile can be a different thing. When you receive the profile, sadly I don't have a picture that showing all the profiles that I received. I was convinced that I had one, but I couldn't find it. Apparently I didn't take a picture. But depending on the company you ordered the profile, you can get profiles that are very clean and finely packaged, or a bit more rough and industrial. I ordered from two different companies. One time when I had to modify my previous wheel stand to add the Invicta pedals, and in that case I received a package that was quite well made. All the profiles have plastic protectors, they were quite clean, deburred and everything. There was still some tiny little bit of scratch, and there was still some dust from the cutting process, but it was very little. Okay. But when I ordered all the profiles that I used for my current sim rig, actually I ordered from a company that was very cheap and incredibly fast. They sent me everything in 3-4 days, but I could see they rushed everything. I mean, the packaging was less beautiful to see. I mean, a bit, wrapped with tape and so on. But I mean, it did the job. There were some more scratches on the profile. I don't mind too much. I mean, it's a frame at the end, and you can cover up the scratches with a marker. You can also basically assemble the thing in a way that the scratched parts are not visible. So there are solutions for that, and I would suggest to not be too picky about that. Even if we like our stuff to be perfect, this is not always the case, and this is sometimes happen also with when you buy a rig from a manufacturer. But yeah, it can happen. You have to take this into account. But the striking thing was that all the profiles were covered by a thin layer of plastic. But despite that, they were quite dirty. They were full of small metal shards and dust, really a lot. And also, back in the days, my son was, I don't know, 8 months or so. So crawling around the apartment wasn't a great thing. I did everything in my small room. I have a small room that I use for these things here. Closed everything. It was basically in quarantine until I finished the process because I didn't want these shards to go elsewhere in the apartment. So one thing that you have to do at the beginning is probably clean everything. Clean everything with a brush, remove all the shards. If usually the profiles are debarred, but there might be some remaining metal pieces at the edges. In my case, there weren't, but you should have a look into it. Perhaps a quick pass of sandpaper can fix it. And you should prepare all the profiles at the very beginning to be used. That's the thing. Then, if you plan to, I mean, in my case, if you follow my design, you will have to, at least for 2 profiles, you will have to tap them, meaning basically make a thread for screws at the holes at the extremities. And to do so, you have to buy a bit for your driller. An hand driller is fine. You don't need a particularly good driller. I mean, mine is average driller, let's say semi-pro, but probably a bit less. And you just buy a good tip that anyway is not very expensive. Take into account we are trying to make a thread in aluminum that is softer than steel. So even with a 10 euro tap from a reputable brand, I bought it from a brand called Bear that is German. You can still make a lot tap a lot of profiles without problems. And if you would do it on a steel, especially hard steel, probably the bit would get worn out very fast. But in our case, it's easier. I will show you here this video. So this is the process. Make a thread to tap the profile. Quite simple. You put the driller very, very well aligned. You see that I use my fingers to keep it level, and you basically make a hole very, very smoothly and slowly, gently. At some point you will feel some resistance, and basically the clutch of the driller will start making noise because it's slipping. That's a good thing. You see, now it's slipping. I'm going backwards, make the dirt come out, and then start again. Don't try to push it through, it's worse. And you do the process 3-4 times, and then it's done. You will have your nice thread that supports M8 screws, and it will be very important to fix the 2 profiles that are part of the pedal tech of the rig. So, to wrap it up, the very first step is to prepare all the profiles for the use, because they will be a bit dirty and because we have to make some to tap some of them. Yeah, the profiles that have to be tapped are the 2 4080 profiles that are 54 centimeters long. Actually, in our part list, there are 5 of these profiles, but only 2 of them have to be tapped. Yeah. So once all the profiles are ready, we can start assembling the rig. And this is a picture of the first step. It's actually a bit advanced already. But what you can see here is that at the very beginning, we have to build the main structure of the rig. That is basically a rectangle, okay? And this is the rectangle that will hold everything. And it's fairly simple. You can help yourself. You can use these shorter profiles to align the profile in a perfect way. Let me explain a bit better. You start with one of the long profiles, okay? That is this one, for example. And you want to connect it with one of the shorter profile. This is a 54 centimeter piece, 4080 piece. And in order to have it perfectly aligned, you can help yourself with one of the short profile to allows you to perfectly align the extremities. That's my suggestion. Then you start putting the corner brackets, that are these ones, and you put the T-nuts first, and then you put the corner bracket, and gently, with your hand, you just screw them a tiny bit, okay? So you can move them. And you first screw them to the long pieces of profile and move them up to until the short one. And you have to be sure there's no gap between both the profiles and the corner bracket. You want it to be at the inside of the corner as much as possible, because you don't want gaps, you don't want preload, because you can still screw it even if there's a gap, but that wouldn't work at its best. Then you start firstly with the hand to tighten them, and then you use the Allen key, and as final touch with the torque wrench, you completely tighten the screws. And this is, I will not repeat this again, but basically all the corner brackets should put this way. Firstly, you align them perfectly inside the corner that you want to tighten. Then with your hand, you tighten as much as possible as it doesn't move. And gradually you tighten both the screws with the final touch of the torque wrench. I used 8 to 10 Newton meters as target torque for basically all the bolts. You can go even up, but at some point you will get to a point where the nut actually locks very, very hard, but at the same time it makes kind of a dent inside the profile, and I didn't want to get to that point. And because I think it's already plenty strong this way, and I prefer to not leave sign on the profile, because I can reassemble it and make changes in the future. So here, I mean, what we are seeing here, that basically I built the main rectangle first, and then I put inside, without paying too much attention about the correct distance for the seat, the two short segments that will connect to a third 54 centimeters 4080 profile that will sit here in the middle. Okay, why I put the 4040 profile in advance? Because this is makes me easier to have everything perfectly aligned without taking too many measures. In theory, I could have put the 4080 segment at the center of the rig before the final one, but then I would have to take a very precise measurement of the distance and, I mean, account for a bit of play. It's much easier to just build the full rectangle, put the two 4040 profile without tightening them too much, and then add the piece in the middle, and then tighten everything in the proper way. You will have to take accurate measures of the distance between these two 4040 segments, because these are basically what are going to hold the seat rails. And so the distance between them, this distance, depends on the seat that you plan to use. So you have to check the information from the manufacturer, or if you have already the seat and you have the sliders and the seat rails, just measure the distance between them so you know how to align these. So these are other pictures of the same thing. You see, this is from top. I used the 4080 profiles, one of the many that I had, to be sure that the 4040 profiles and the main rectangle were exactly the same height. Or you can also use, among the parts that I ordered, there were like flat connecting plates that I will show you are going to be mounted at some point on the corners, and I used them also to check the alignment between these parts in a way that they were perfectly level. You need some you need to find ways to have everything, all the corners, all the alignments between the parts perfect. It's quite easy because the profiles you will receive are very, very straight and leveled and flat, and you can use the parts that are not mounted yet to align everything and to help you have everything perfectly level. So this is another picture of the same thing. And then this after mounting the piece in the middle. And you see all the corner brackets are mounted. I also covered them with the caps. And the distance between between the 4040 profiles are already, it's already perfectly set for mounting the seat. The seat that I had back in the time, that was a GT Omega seat, okay? And you see also the remaining parts that are behind. You can notice here, there are T-nuts that are going to be used for the connecting plates. Basically, you see the main structure is being held by 8, 2 per each corner brackets mounted at the inside of the profiles. This is good. There are manufacturers that use just that for the rig, but I wanted something that would have been motion ready, and I added per each side 2 connecting plates, flat connecting plates per each corner, so 8 in total, that basically make a sandwich, and these improve the torsional stiffness a lot. That is something that you want if you are using motion, because everything will rotate a bit. There might be vibration, or you don't want flex. Another picture, and this is the connecting. These are the connecting plates I was talking about, and they are on both the sides. You see here clearly the sandwich. And this is the first of the 2 profiles that constitute the pedal deck. It's also this one 54 centimeters 4080 profile, and you can see behind it's, so let's go backwards a second. These angular brackets are connected through the holes that I tapped at the very beginning. So there's basically a screw that goes directly into this profile. And so we have 4 connecting points on top and 4 on the bottom. As I couldn't use these 2 corners because they were already used, I put the corner brackets in the middle, but yeah, this doesn't make a lot of a difference. But I wanted this segment to be particularly stiff because this is the main one that basically is stressed while you're pushing the brake very hard. These are the feet. Actually, I ordered 6, but Motedis made a mistake and sent me 5. At the end, I only mounted 4. And yeah, so actually you see 6 feet, but there's a part missing for the 6th one, actually. But I used 4, and that's fine. So you see also the second segment for the pedal deck is mounted. This one, as we have space, we have 2 corner brackets below per each side, and there are 2 on top, directly screwed into the profile itself. And you see I added the 4 feet. Why I didn't put them to the very end, it's because actually most of the weight is centered here. And this is also why the motion platform, the front actuators are usually placed at this height, because there's not so much weight in this area compared to this area where you're basically sitting here, and then the base is usually somewhat here. So the weight is biased on the rear part of the rig. And this is from the top, the view from the top. After that, I mounted my pedals. Nothing to say about that. I centered them because this is a personal preference. Okay, I could set the pedals in different ways. I mostly race with cars where you use only 2 pedals, but I like to have a clutch because I also like to do rally and drive classic cars. And I thought about different options to try to put the 2 main pedals at the center and leave the clutch on the left side. And that could have been an option, but it would be very annoying to drive while driving with 3 pedals. At the end, I decided to adopt an arrangement that is similar to the one of traditional classic F1 cars from late 80s or very, very early 90s, where basically the three pedals are very close to each other, quite centered. Basically, the center of the brake pedal is exactly the center of the rig. But this is something very personal. You will mount them wherever, in whatever way you prefer. And that's it. There are around 45 millimeters between the pedals, if I'm not correct, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, this is from the top. And this is the space that I created to put the rig. And basically, first thing first, I moved everything I built in the other room. I mean, actually this room from which I'm recording, because it was ready to start assembling the thing, okay? Because at the end you have to build the main structure, the middle segment that connects the seat rails and the pedal deck, and you have everything. And then I mounted the seat. Depending on the seat, it might be more or less complicated to mount it. This is very dependent on what seat you have, so I will go very quickly forward on it. And what I did now is I checked if the distance with the pedals was something that I liked, and the height of the pedals and everything, if I liked it, because that's very important. And then I took a picture from the side to see at which height I wanted to have the steering wheel and at which distance, because I had to have at least some rough indication of where and how high I had to assemble the part then where the wheelbase is mounted on. And in the meantime, I also prepared the wheelbase. I mean, this depending on what you have might be more or less complicated. In my case, as I said also last time, I like the idea that my wheel deck is just a straight profile, completely flat. This is very good for the adjusting everything. So I wanted to have side mounts for my, back in the day, Fanatec CSL DD. Now I didn't have the proper side brackets for the base, but I had many brackets, Chinese brackets that I bought on Amazon because of mods that I did on my previous wheel stand, and actually they were perfect for that. And I could basically have a very good angle of the wheelbase, 12 degrees. It was aroundish. That is more or less what most people like. And yeah, I prepared everything in advance. So this, I mounted the first half of, let's call it arc, that constitute the wheel deck. Now, a note about that. Here you cannot see it. I don't know if there's a better picture. No. So on this part here, sadly I didn't take more picture. There are 6 corner brackets that connect this pillar. There are 2 after, 2 before that are here vertical, but hidden behind here there are 2 corner brackets that goes in this direction. Now I didn't assemble all of this directly on the sim rig because it would be very annoying to work here with this relatively long profile. This is the 65 or 66, I don't remember exact length, centimeter profile. It would be a bit annoying to work here. So I assembled everything in the other room. How did I do for this part? Basically, I took one of the other profiles that I had, because I had exceeding profiles, and I aligned everything and assembled everything pretending that wouldn't be in here. And then I basically unscrewed the horizontal part and brought just these 2 pieces already assembled and mount them here. And then it's pretty easy to put the T-nuts and tighten everything, and you will have this half arc perfectly aligned already. Okay, sorry. I thought the camera was switching off. So, and this was the half. And then I prepared also this segment. Now you can see here that there are corner brackets on this side. And I just put everything and then had the double corner brackets up and down. Actually, at this point, I didn't realize I mounted this segment way too high. You see now I mounted the wheelbase, and I took a couple of pictures from this side, and you see actually it's way above the center of my shoulder, so it was too high. And then I correctly realigned it. One tip, if you have to move, whenever you have to make profiles slide on other profiles, I suggest to use some grease, okay? I didn't want to use lithium grease, that is very good for these applications, but I didn't like the smell and everything. I used just some silicone grease. But whenever I had to move profiles and make them slide against each other, I was basically putting some grease on the surface to avoid scratches and to make the work easier before moving everything. And then with paper, I would clean the excess that is remaining around. This is a tip that you should consider. And this is again similar picture to check the positioning. And yeah, that's basically it. That basically was the assembly of the sim rig. Another tip for cable management that obviously I didn't do at this time, you can buy for cheap on Amazon, eBay, whatever, rubber seals for the opened sections of the profile, okay? These seals are simply rubber strips that you can hook here and basically close the opening of a profile. They're very nice because they're very easy to cut, and you can make the cables pass below them. And I use them extensively because you basically make the cables pass through the openings of the profiles and then close them with the sealing. And this is very easy to do, very easy also to remove and change if you have to remove parts, and have a pleasant, if it's visually pleasant and does the job done. And also cable management is something that is a bit sensitive to people when they make the pictures of Reddit and they want the rig to seem perfect and minimalist, but too much cable management is hell actually. It looks good on picture and for sure people would compliment you, but then when you have to change a part, you have to dismantle everything, is a big pain. So a good cable management has a good aesthetics, but at the same time is practical. You can remove the things quick. It allows you to replace parts to do maintenance. If you get to the point where cables are invisible, but you really have already mental pain of thinking about dismantling or removing a part of the rig, it means you did it too much. So that's my suggestion about it. Don't go too much nuclear with cable management. And final part, I added the two short segments to basically constitute the shifter and handbrake support. This is too short. I said it into the video. These two segments are 32 centimeters long, and there are two segments that actually are utilized. I had them already. I would recommend this one to be 40 to 50 centimeters long because that would be very useful. I keep my shifter and handbrake in this area very close to the steering wheel because I want to be super fast in changing gears and doing everything, but that could not be very handy for you, and it's nice to have a bit more space. You see, when I put the shifters, I used some brackets that I already had at home and connected them. I actually changed the brackets with some better ones from Motedis later. Okay, this is how it looked like with the old seat. Now, let's talk about the bucket seat. A month after I finished assembling my sim rig, I got a bucket seat from Sparco. I wanted to have everything Sparco because it sounded cool, because I thought also to myself, Sparco stuff would be better than sim racing level gear. And this is true and not entirely true. I mean, I would always recommend to go to the real thing instead of of using like sim racing seats. I think they basically cost the same, and so I don't see too much a point of using sim racing seats, honestly, and at least for the seat. But when it comes to the brackets, actually I kind of regret to not have used to have bought the Sparko ones, because they are not that great. I think the SimLab ones are a bit better. And yes, the sliders are okay. These parts were quite cheap. And this is the seat. Interesting thing I said also in the previous video, the holes of on the side of the seat are not exactly matching, and so you will have to do a bit of playing a bit with it to have a perfect alignment. This is everything. So first thing first, I assembled the slider to the side brackets, and then I mounted the side brackets on the seat. It's interesting to see that the side brackets overlap a bit with the plastic cover of the holes for the seat belts on the side, but that's perfectly fine. Don't get worried about that. But if you use the brackets from SimLab, probably this wouldn't be a problem, because on this side they are quite small, short. This was a test of the sitting position after mounting it. Now, how do you mount them? I don't have pictures of the process, but it's quite simple. You put the T-nuts on what is the kind of the support for the seat rails from the sim rig, and what you do is to put move all the seat forward, so you uncover this side of the seat rails and screw them by hand. Then you put all the seat backwards, and you would uncover this part, and you can put the screws and tighten them for the front side. Now, actually, I did the first time everything with the seat mounted, resulting in not a great mounting. It was like things were a bit bent. So I would say the process of assembling the seat is a bit crafty. I would suggest this process. First of all, you assemble the seat slider, you mount them over the brackets, and then mount the brackets on the seat. And while you have all the seat assembled with brackets and slider, you take the measures of how wide should the seat 4040 profiles should be, the correct width. Then you have actually to unscrew and move these segments, 4040 segments, at the right width. And when everything is perfectly aligned, you tighten everything, and you actually remove the brackets from the bucket seat. You unscrew them, and you mount per each side the sliders and the brackets directly on the sim rig. And then, as final part, from the top, you just put down the bucket seat, that is kind of a shell, and you make it slide inside the brackets that they are steel and they have some flex, and then you tighten as final step the seat over the brackets. I hope this is clear enough, because explaining it by word is much harder than actually show you the process, but I don't have pictures or videos of them. But at the end, the result is pretty nice. I hope you like it. And yeah, that's it. I don't have much else to say. This is the full process. These are all the pictures I have. Sadly, I don't have anything better than this. I apologize to not have documented better the process, but yeah, that's the best I can do to help you assembling a sim rig similar to what I did. So have a great day and keep on racing, man.